Who else? There's three of them, the pillars of the church. Who are they?
It would be James, John, and Peter would be the other.
And Peter, the three pillars of the church. So he said, for before certain men came from James. So that's how we know James is the leader of the Jerusalem church. He used to eat with the Gentiles, but when he arrived, he began to draw back and separate himself from the Gentiles because he was afraid of those who belonged to the circumcision group. Let's go to the next verse. And the other Jews joined in his hypocrisy, so that they by the hypocrisy, even Barnabas was led astray.
Yeah. Okay.
So am I right in my recollection, or you still think I'm wrong that he opposed him?
No, keep going.
Okay, so what is your answer? That he fell out with
the falling out.
Okay.
They had an argument. So
Okay.
when people argue, do they automatically fall out?
You keep saying falling out. I'm clarified if that's what you. I don't need
alright,
to
so-
say.
so-
Do you understand the point that was made?
Alright,
Is that
so-
he argued with them,
so-
and here it says he opposed Cephas to his face for his
Alright, so-
hypocrisy, and Barnabas
Yeah,
and the other Jews. Do you get it?
So if you did say falling out, you take that back.
I have to see that. If I no, but what is it you're understanding from that? That you're
because
trying to
when-
base your argument on. What is it that you're?
I've had arguments with people, but we don't fall out. We just have an argument.
Well,
that's
this is
normal.
it. This is it. One can suppose that they fell out completely. Yes, because from the year 60 onwards, we don't hear anything from Paul, do we?
Don't hear anything.
No, we don't.
Right,
Do we
but
hear anything from Paul?
Have you read 2 Peter?
Paul
What
did
Peter
not
said about
offer. Paul did not offer 2 Peter.
No, what did Peter say
Yo,
about
what was my claim just now? What was my claim? What did I just tell you?
which one? About
Yeah, that we don't know. Basically, we don't know what happened to the end of the life of Paul. We don't know. What we have is Acts, which was written at the end of the 1st century. Now, in Acts, which is written by Luke, or so they say it's written by Luke, it could clearly tell us what happened, because the Acts of the Apostle is about the life of Paul.
No, it's about multiple people.
No, it's called
Peter,
Acts of the Apostles, but the main character in Acts of the Apostle is Paul. If you read it.
Later on, at the beginning.
Luke, no, yes. So the main character is who?
Of what?
Please, thank you very much. I can't have a discussion with you not being genuine.
answering your question.
No, anyone who knows the Bible and Acts, the main protagonist of Acts is Paul. It should not be difficult for you.
Which chapter? Do you want me to tell you?
What did I just say? What did I? No,
Let me
repeat to me.
answer.
No, look, Michael, I don't like these type of disingenuous discussions. It wastes my time. I said, who is the main protagonist of Acts? I never say which chapter. I said of Acts as a whole. Who is it?
From Acts 13 onwards, it's Paul. I'm giving you the answer.
No, you're acting like
No, it's because
childish.
you don't know. That's why.
What's
You
that?
just
What I don't know?
No,
What is it?
you
I
don't know that most of Acts up to the beginning is
In the
about
beginning,
Peter and John.
yes, I know. I've read
So
Acts.
why did you ask me
No,
that question?
I asked the main character, and you said which chapter. I never asked you which chapter. You changed my original question to suit your purpose. Anyway, Paul, if you want to know, the Acts, it doesn't mention about the death of Paul. It stops mysteriously, so we don't actually know what happens to Paul.
Yeah, but
The first Christians ignored him entirely. Up unto Justin Martyr, we don't even hear about him. His works. You asked a question. You want the answer?
yeah,
Yeah,
but the
okay.
problem is
So it could be very It could be very well that Paul did fall out with the disciples completely, and we don't hear from him. What we do hear about Paul is his side of the story. The New Testament, 27 books, composed 13 of them. That's half of the New Testament by Paul, but we don't hear the other side. What we do have in this incident is two books. We have Galatians, which is written by Paul, and the other side of the story is Luke, who is the traveling companion of Paul. But we don't have the story of what happened in the Jerusalem Council from James, not the Jerusalem Council. We don't. Listen to my words, careful. We don't have the account of what happened in the Council of Jerusalem by James, by Peter. We have it from who? Acts, which is Luke, a companion of Paul, and from Galatians. Is that clear? So which part of what I said was a lie?
no. So essentially, if you did,
You say that I lied.
No, I just wanna
I'm
make
just
sure.
asking you.
So if you said they fell out,
Okay,
you
no
take
offense.
that back.
No. I said it's still possible. I said it's still possible. I don't even know.
No, according to direct evidence I can read, that's what I'm going by. So if you
Okay, let me show you more. Because this is one of those silly arguments that get nowhere. That's what I'm saying. It's like even if I prove to you, you're still gonna come up with a different one. Yeah. How many churches were there that left him?
How many that left?
Yeah.
Well, however many.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
Is Jesus the creation or the creator?
Yeah, they want to know about this stuff. Like there's the incident of Antioch, which I was talking about as well. Yeah. If you just
Searching on Google. I just look it up straight.
from where the Bible, I don't have the Bible app. I'm not a Christian.
No, which one you after? I can find it.
When all the churches left him, huh? See, that's what I'm saying. I don't think you know. No, he says all of the churches of Asia have left me. You don't know this is what I'm saying. It's difficult, Michael, to speak to a person if they don't know the Bible.
Yeah, but you're happy to speak to that guy.
No. But they don't try to argue from their whims like you just argue. You said you said they made this so small Alec comment, yeah? Oh, you use a Google, you don't use the Bible. I go straight to the Bible. But then when I mention something of the Bible, you don't know about it.
No, the reason why I said that is because of
You acted like as in what I said wasn't there, but it was there. Oh, so you know what I'm saying is there.
It's recorded, so everyone can find
Yeah.
it.
So no. You know, 2 Timothy 1:15 make it easy for you. You know that everyone in the province of Asia has deserted me. Why have they deserted him?
Right, what's that 2 Timothy?
No offense, I need to give da'wah. This is the reason I'm here.
So you're fine lying to that guy, but now
You keep
someone
lying,
comes-
yeah, but we've had plenty of people come. No offense, I've spoken to you. You said that when Paul says he opposed Cephas to his face, you asked me when did he argue, or you said when did he fall out, yeah. But what's the point you're making? The greater point you're making? What's the point? That what?
No, it's all the stuff you were saying to that guy about Paul, and even Dawood was joining in.
But you haven't made a point. That's what I'm saying. Paul. He didn't agree with the apostles. You see, in the Council of Jerusalem, do you know what the Council of Jerusalem is?
Yeah, when they're talking about the Gentiles.
Okay, why are they talking about the Gentile child?
Well, because people are accusing Paul
Yeah?
of saying that the Jews shouldn't circumcise their children.
Is Paul doing this?
Huh?
Is Paul doing that? Telling them that they shouldn't circumcise? I want to know your opinion.
No,
He's not doing that.
no.
Okay. Is he telling the people that the law is not important, from what you understand from the readings?
Yeah, but remember, the council is about
No,
him
I'm-
telling Jews not to circumcise their children.
No, I'm asking you in regards, because the James is saying that we're hearing that you're telling people that you're to move away from the laws of Moses.
Yeah, the Jews.
The Jews, yeah. So is this true or not?
But you realise that James agrees with that.
So now, why is it then James doesn't argue back? Why is it James says here, yeah? Answer me this, yeah? Look at all these thousands of Jews who are jealous for the law. Yeah? Why is it that Paul is told to shave off his hair and do the sacrifices, and he does it?
So that they could see that you
That
do
he's
follow the law.
okay. So this is the point, that the law still exists for the Jews.
Yeah.
And Paul, he's saying that the law is not fully for the Jews. He's saying the circumcision is not only of flesh. Yeah, he talks it down. He said you should not get circumcision. Eating with the Gentiles in this incident. 1 second. In the incident of Antioch, who is he condemning? Cephas, who is a Jew. What is he condemning him from? Eating with the Gentiles, because their food is unclean. 1 second, the food is unclean. And who has come to them? James has come to them. So yes, he's condemning Jews for not following for following the law. He says, I stood up to him because he was a hypocrite. Do you understand?
Yeah, the reason he stood up to him is because Peter, assimilating with the Jews, because he didn't stay and eat with the Gentiles when the Jews were there.
Yes, because he knew that the laws were still bound. But of course it is. Why did Peter stand up then? Why did Peter stand up?
Stand up for what?
What do you mean for? No offense here. I don't mean to be rude here, but the conversation goes nowhere.
That's your question.
It's not. Why did Cephas? You act like you don't know nothing. That's why it's hard to do it. Why did Cephas stand up when men from James came to him?
No, it's before. The men from James came because of what happened. So
When the men from James came, it says that Cephas stood up. Why did Cephas stand up? This is the last time I'm asking. If you're going to pretend you don't know what I'm asking you, let's leave it short.
He said, fearing them which were of the circumcision. That's what the text said.
Yes, exactly what I said. They came and he stood up. Now, why did he stand up? That's the next question.
No, because it says, the true separate is of fearing them. Yeah, so he...
Come on, Michael. Don't act like you don't know. This is just wasting my time and your time. You know.
You don't want to answer my questions. I'm answering yours just to be, just to be nice.
You're not answering mine just to be nice.
Yeah, because remember I said about...
Okay, please, no offense.
Would you withdraw what you said if you said that he did say...
Okay, so this is my position. You want to honestly know? I feel that Paul, did argue with the disciples. Not only did he argue with the disciples, he argued with his own churches. Yeah, and he told them that they have to listen to him. This is my honest position. Yeah, they have to listen to him. Yeah. Are you saying it doesn't exist?
No, he wouldn't order them to listen to him.
Okay. I may not be an apostle for them. I am an apostle for you. He says, if you hear gospel other than the gospel I teach you, then this gospel is wrong. Follow my gospel. Yeah, you know.
I think you have to get that verse. No, so
also, I don't mean to be rude, Michael, but I don't mean to be rude, Michael.
Yeah.
But it's like every time I'm quoting something, it's like you want.
Because it sounds strange.
Okay,
so
because that's what I'm saying.
Text.
That's what I'm saying. That means you. I don't think you're fully acquainted with the Bible to have this level of discussion.
What you're saying. That's the point. I had to do the same.
I don't know if you're being. Honestly, I don't know if you're being disingenuous, Michael. Yeah, but no problem, innit? So he says, I am a apostle to you. I might not be an apostle to them. Is that what you're saying that you're not familiar with, yeah? Michael. Michael, you're wasting my time. I'm sorry. Please, Michael, please. Once I'm off this place, I'll speak to you. Once I'm off this place. This place here is because I'm giving out free material. Yeah. If someone,
But you were there when you were talking to the other guy for a long time.
Who?
No, it was...
Was it on this?
Yeah, it was right here, and that would...
Yeah, but Michael, this conversation takes so much time. Do you agree with that?
With the other guy as well.
Yeah, but he understood when I was saying something. Yeah, he was understood. I'm telling you something that it seems like you're unfamiliar, but I feel that you know. To be honest, I feel.
It's very simple. He's just saying, sorry to interrupt you. I
Yeah,
don't want to be rude.
no, that's right.
It's genuine. It's just it
Yeah,
doesn't sound
First
familiar,
Corinthians.
what
Yeah,
you're
that's what I'm
saying.
saying. But
He's asking for
that's what I'm saying. But you know, because I'm here for a purpose.
Go on,
Yeah.
man.
Look, this is not the first. This is like the third verse I'm showing him. Yeah.
Go on.
It says here. Yeah. Even though I may not be apostle to others, surely I am to you.
Yeah.
This is what I say, and it says it is exactly as I quoted it. Is that?
Did you quote
Oh
him?
my God.
You got the recording at
You
least.
just what I'm saying.
You can tell
This guy's. Please, Michael. I don't mean to be rude to you.
No, it's fine, 'cause I just
when
wanted to have
you
this-
remind me of Paperboy. You speak
but
very similar
The
to
reason why I wanted
Paperboy.
to have this conversation is
It
just
doesn't like
just because of what you said to these guys. So at least now you know that. when you say
No, you
something
haven't
about
established anything.
Paul- No, what I'm saying is that when you say...
Look, Paul. He argued with, for example, they were following. Paul is here. He can actually help me. Where is it? Which letter of Paul is it? He's talking to his ministry, saying, "Do not go to a different gospel. Stick to the gospel I preached to you."
Would that be an Acts or in?
No, it was a London letter. I think it's Philippians.
Galatians.
Or Galatians. Yes,
Sounds promising.
Galatians. So let's go to
Talk
Galatians.
about Jewish Christians who
Yeah.
disagree with him.
Yes, exactly.
James.
Okay.
And Paul's defending his gospel, my gospel, he says.
Yeah, my gospel.
It's his own personal gospel. Against those, obviously, the Jewish Christians who
Here you go.
knew James.
So no other gospel. I am astonished that you, and he's talking to Galatians, are so quickly deserting the one who called you to live in the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel. And he goes, which is really no gospel at all. Evidently some people are throwing you into confusion and are trying to pervert the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel other than the one we preach to you, let them be under God's curse, an angel under God's curse. This is Paul. Also,
Yeah.
oh, okay, man, it's a pleasure. I'll see you next week. Yeah. So the point is that there were people that Paul was arguing with in even his own churches. So there were parts of his church were going to other gospels, and this is why he had to address them.
Yeah,
And this
sorry.
was my whole point.
Well, it looks like they were being misled, and he's trying to correct
No,
it.
no, but you could say it's misled, yeah, if you see it through the lens of a Christian. Do you understand? From the lens or the lens of a Christian. From here is that you have Paul. He teaches a Gentile Christianity, which is completely different from the Jerusalem church,
Right.
which the disciples are teaching.
No, it doesn't
So
say that. It doesn't say
I'll
that.
build. No, it doesn't say this here, but I'll
All
build.
he's saying is that you're being
yeah,
misled.
I know.
Listen to me.
I know.
This is
Yeah,
my
I know,
gospel. It doesn't
I
mean he
know.
wrote the gospel.
Yeah.
He's saying
Yeah.
what I know is how
Yeah,
it should
so this verse doesn't say that.
Isn't it? Is that
That's
how you
just, yeah, that wasn't a
He
claim
says
what we
in
said.
Here, he said he didn't get the gospel from any man. He got
said
it directly from a
Jesus.
revelation.
Yeah, a vision.
But the gospel that he
Yeah.
preaches is very different from the gospel the apostles and Jesus himself preached.
What does it say that?
No, it's not one single place. It's
Galatians chapter 1.
Please show us, if you don't mind.
this is. Look, and so
I thought you would know.
this is it's like
I
it's
assume you
hard.
know
No, it's
the
because
passage.
the way you quote it, you quote it in a different
Oh,
way.
what, but you no, I quoted it word
Yeah.
for word. You saw it, yeah. I said the gospel. I think I might not be a.
all you've shown-
Oh my gosh, man.
Sorry.
Please,
Sorry,
I don't mean to
carry
be
on.
rude.
Yeah, no, you carry on.
Because I quoted something. He said the way you quoted it sounded like it's not from the exactly how I quoted it was there.
Oh.
Now you mentioned something, yeah, but this is the methodology is slightly wrong. So you said, yeah, where did it show that a verse where what the disciples teach is different one from what
apostles.
Paul's
The
is
apostles
teaching.
teaching.
Yeah. So it's not a single verse. It's the whole of the what we get from Galatians,
You have to get
particularly,
all the
and
context
Acts, and exactly. So what we
That's
know
not
is
easy
and
to
historically,
pinpoint.
yeah. So it's this is why it takes a long time to build up the discussion. What we know.
Can I grab this?
Oh, sorry, Malish.
You have to think like a Muslim and then.
Yeah, basically.
No, well, yeah. Are you done?
Yeah, we done.
Oh man.
So you haven't given us an answer. You've just
No, I have, but you.
basically
Yeah.
saying I have to give you various like many points for you to
That's what I'm saying,
understand
yeah.
this. I can't
And
just
I'm
give
willing
you
to
one
do
line
that.
and
I'm
say
willing
this.
to do
So
that, and I
thinking
have
like
done
a
it. That's why he's
Muslim
coming out.
means, we actually do our
So
research.
what is it? There's a Jerusalem
That's
church.
how
I'll tell you
Muslims
in
do their
synopsis
research.
first,
Yeah,
yeah.
then-
And then if you want all of the
We're
details,
not just there,
you know.
we tell you exactly what it says.
So Jesus came, and in Matthew it says, "I've
We
not
never
come
said
to
he's an
abolish the
antichrist.
law or the prophets. I've come to
never
fulfill
said
the
he's
law."
Yes.
He says, "Whoever breaks the law, he should be called the least in the kingdom, and whoever follows the law and teaches others to follow the law." And I can show you this if you think it sounds different from
you're right
what.
what you're
Yeah, it should be called great in the heaven. I say unto you, unless your deeds exceed the deeds of the Pharisees, ye should not see the kingdom. You have to go, yeah? Oh, everyone's going myself. You should not see the kingdom of heaven.
Correct.
So Jesus actually taught the law. And not only that, the disciples followed the law. Up until even after the death of you say is the death of Jesus. Now what happened was Paul on the road to Damascus, I'm telling you very briefly, but it's a very long thing, yeah?
No, I had a
On
vision.
the road, he had a vision. And this vision wasn't shared by his companions who was with him.
hang in there. He heard the voice,
He heard the voice.
and they heard the voice as well.
So it
So that
depends
was
where you're
shared.
reading. So
that
if you're
was
reading,
no, just same verses there.
no. So there's
Further down, they heard it as well.
yeah. So in
So
one,
they did
in one,
share- they did share that experience.
Yeah.
But he only saw the vision. He was one who saw the
So there's a different accounts. A different accounts. It's more than one account. Yeah. Account.
Different perspectives.
Let's see.
Because he fell off, he heard the vision, he heard the voice. Further down you read, they heard the voice as well.
Well, let's see. I'll show you. There's different.
Paul twice.
Huh?
But what's the point
Gave
anyway?
it once and Paul gave it twice.
Yeah, exactly.
what's the point?
Yeah. This is the
Carry
point, and they're different
No need to-
accounts.
no need to be
Well, let's
distracted.
no. But you
Carry on anyway.
stop. But the different accounts is the point. One account he says he sees it. One account he says he hears it. Yeah. The other account is blinded or something. The other guys don't see in the one account. The other
That's
was
not a
yeah.
problem.
Yeah, no. But I'm
if one
just
gospel
point,
says
yeah.
he saw and another gospel
No.
says he heard, it could be both. Just one didn't mention the hearing, one the other one, you know. But carry on.
So he has
the
a
point?
it's a large point. Is that what he
Come on.
preaches is differs from what the apostles teach. So anyway, he doesn't see Jesus in flesh. The apostles, which were chosen by Jesus in flesh, did, and they followed the law as Jesus also followed. Lord. But Paul, on the other hand, he goes on, and some say this is called antinomianism. I'm not sure, antinomianism. Teaches, doesn't believe in law, or not the law that Jesus teaches, the laws of Moses, some people have different, varying degrees as to what part of the law. So now Jesus, what we understand is when the disciples hear of Paul and his teaching, they're very concerned. So James in Galatians, and is found in Acts, convenes what's known as the Council of Jerusalem, and he tells Paul off. He says, "We hear that you're teaching the people, not to hold the law." So this is the accusation that even apparently according to these testimonies, we're hearing of Paul. But Michael is saying, "No, where is that? Where is that? No one claims that about Paul not teaching." But this very council is to resolve that issue, that we're hearing that people, you're telling people not to follow the law of Moses, but this is different from what Jesus taught and the disciples taught. So this council is now convened. It's known as a Council of Jerusalem, and in it Paul is subject to the law himself, the law that apparently that he's trying to break. So they're saying that James now is saying all of these Jews who are zealous for the law, they need to see that you yourself have an apostate and there's no truth in this claim. So shave off your hair and do the rituals. And he done the rituals, which means he himself is also subject to the law. Now what Paul says, he says, "Unto the Gentile I become a Gentile." I'm not sure if he recalls this or sounds of it. And to a Jew. So he's speaking with a double tongue here. He says also, "If by my life the truth is abounded, then why do you judge me as a sinner?" Now why would someone make that disclaimer? I know I am. I moved to the...
That's good up to now. Thank you.
Yeah? So did you understand? So Paul now the New Testament is made of 27 books, and 13 of them is Paul's writings. Half of those Paul's writings are known as pseudepigrapha. We don't know if we can ascertain if Paul is the author. So they say maybe it was written in Paul's name. Now we have about 6 or so that we can say from stylistics it does belong to Paul.
See, the thing is...
So that was my contention, but he said...
Hang in there, hang in there. You've done very good, thank you. Basically, apostles are teaching something, Paul's teaching something else. Then he goes and he says, he contradicts himself.
And
I'm to the Gentiles, but then I'm a Gentile, and I'm also to the Jews.
And he doesn't mind doing that. He doesn't mind.
Now you say your point.
So what you just said there about the Paul's writing, is that unanimous from the Christian scholars?
The modern contemporary scholars have a field. You want me to answer or not? Listen to the answer. Nothing in Christian scholarship is unanimous. I think you know this. Do you know this? Do you know this?
Yeah.
Okay, so to ask, no.
So you should.
No, even in the resurrection, they're not unanimous. So this idea, that they have to be unanimous on a topic is not true.
No, but then you should say, when you say about Paul, that is not unanimous.
What's not unanimous?
What you said about his writings being pseudepigrapha?
The majority on modern contemporary scholars agree in the field of pseudepigraphy that half of, in fact, I'll show you. Because I think you're quite argumentative. You come across as very nice, but you argue, and then I have to show you.
Very gentle,
he's very gentle, But the problem is that he opposes every point, and then I show him, but he still doesn't accept it.
No, well, ask him, do you agree? What is it you don't agree?
No, he's saying, don't say unanimous. He never said unanimous.
Yeah, exactly.
He said majority of the scholars.
Now, okay, I didn't say that. I never said unanimous, but majority of scholars agree that most of the writings of Paul's in the New Testament are pseudonymous. They don't belong to him. It's called pseudepigrapha. Even Bart Ehrman writes a book called Forge explaining this.
Please.
But I'm going to show him.
Not respectful.
But
one second.
But do you know what that means?
Yeah, but
so many people say to
no, but this is so known. Pseudepigrapha.
He says a lot of things which are very wrong.
Let me show this point, because this is the one where he stopped it.
What that means, what he's saying. What he's saying, what he means is that someone's copied Paul's writings and written them down in their own style.
He never said that.
No, but that's what he means.
He said.
No, who said that?
13
No,
scriptures.
that's the meaning.
He said 13 scriptures are implied to be Paul's inside the Bible, right?
Yeah.
That's out of 27, so at least half of it is implied to be Paul.
Yeah.
Now, only half of that has been verified by a majority of the scholars that it belongs to Paul due to the handwriting. The other half still hasn't been verified.
It wouldn't be based on handwriting.
Yeah, but we're happy not with scholars. We're happy with with the church fathers.
No, but he's correcting
Come on,
me,
the community
but they're
that grew
scholars.
From there, the eyewitnesses that were there.
His
they'll
contention with
fantasize
me,
all.
his contention with me is that I didn't say that unanimous. You know, I say that unanimous, but I didn't say this. Look, if this topic of pseudepigrapha is well established in scholarly circles, you don't have to believe it. I believe that scholars endeavor throughout their life to come to a certain point. Every clothing you have in the basis of a scholarly endeavor. The floor that you walk on is based on scholarly endeavor. They need to get biologists, even your feet, orthodontists, all bring ideas together so then they can have a holistic idea and understanding. So this idea is like when you say church fathers, they are scholars. They were the first scholars. Yeah, Eusebius, Athanasius, they were all scholars. Yeah, they were scholars. You can't say they weren't scholars. But they're scholars. But going back to it anyway. So the topic of pseudepigraphy, if you don't know, is a very interesting point, yeah? That books of the Bible are not really from the people who is attributed. And some of them, for example, are the books. This is not me saying, that's what I'm saying. It's
Eyewitnesses and eyewitnesses to eyewitnesses.
So let's stick to one
in the
point.
community, they named them books right at the very beginning. They attribute the names of who wrote them.
So we'll get to that question. One second. Let me just finish. Let me finish a thing, yeah? So what are the pseudo... You could type this in any Google search, yeah? Be judicious in your sources.
I'm going to call the police in a minute.
But you have to be judicious.
It's good. You know what's good? You know a law, you remember every point and you carry on with your points.
But this is the problem. You know when you ask a question, yeah, sometimes it goes off so far in, yeah, and then I'm told to justify a point that I don't even believe in. That's why I'm trying to understand what is that he's come to me today, Michael, yeah, he said everything I said was lies. Then when I quote the Bible, he said this, I don't remember it as like that. But then I show him, he doesn't back down and say, sure, you're right. He's not saying that in this. You heard this. Anyway, now when it comes to pseudepigraphy, maybe. But this is what I'm saying. It's not beneficial for me to argue with a debater who's not willing to understand. Do you see my point of view?
You should say for the camera's sake, say your points.
I just forgot the camera.
There's about 10 million people on this film.
So pseudepigrapher.
Make their own mind.
Yeah. So
what does you want? Cut it. Tell them, oh, I'm sorry. Just say your point. Don't worry. Be happy.
Epistle to the Ephesians.
Yeah.
Epistle to the Colossians, epistle to the second epistle to the Thessalonians. My pronunciation is all bad, yeah.
All Greek, please, yeah.
All Greek,
I'm
yeah.
Greek.
Yeah. You're Greek, yeah? First epistle to Timothy, the pastoral letters, yeah? Second epistle to Timothy and epistle to Titus. These 6 books are referred to as the detailed Pauline letters, meaning secondary, standing in the corpus of Paul's writings. How many? 6.
Yes.
How many of these books do you have in the Bible? 13. The other ones are disputed, and this is what the word that I always use, they're disputed.
Now, who
meaning
disputes them?
the scholars.
Which scholars? Modern day scholars?
Modern day scholars, yeah.
Why wouldn't they dispute the early church fathers? And
So they did.
before?
So this good question that you're
No, it's very important.
I'll answer this way. I don't mind you asking me questions, but
I'm
it has to be
not
generalized.
talking, we're not
Michael's
detailed.
general questions was that
There's
bouncing.
things I don't know. I say I don't
We
know.
learn from each other, yeah.
Yeah.
And just so
What's your name?
I don't know.
Okay, just give me any name. George.
What's your
So Hamza.
Hamza,
That's nice to
please.
meet you. So I like the way your line of questioning. So
No,
now,
it's very important.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
no problem.
If
is gentle
you
discussion.
say I don't know, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It just
Thank
means you
you.
don't know at that point.
Thank you
And
very
same
much.
with me.
Thank you. And
We're
this is
just
why I don't
learning
like
and we're
debaters here.
discussing, yeah.
This is why I don't like debaters here. It's like they expect
all
everyone
ego.
to be an ego, a walking encyclopedia. So they come research and they come with you. I don't do. You watch my debates. I don't put people down. All my discussions, I try not to, because for me, that's something like.
Alright, but
but anyway,
leave that.
so
Before you
how
carry
do
on.
we know? So your last question in regards to
the question, saying that's-
1 second. So Hebrews was once upon a time believed to be a writing.
No.
of Paul.
My point is, sorry, I'm interrupting you because I know when you carry on, I'm going to forget because I've got a very short memory.
All of us.
I've forgotten. No. Right, one
I
minute.
remember.
The early scholars, the early days, there was no
Why didn't they
dispute.
dispute?
Oh,
They
yeah.
weren't
That was
dispute.
your question, yeah. Why
Yeah.
didn't they dispute?
They didn't dispute this.
Okay,
this
so
was
some
all
of the early-
authenticized
yeah.
in the early church fathers.
When you say
the
early church
councils,
fathers,
the
yeah,
councils,
this is a good
this
question.
was all agreed.
This is a good
Why
question.
now these modern scholars? Only when it was the World War, the German scholars, they bring up other things and they're refuted. You've got Bart Ehrman, allegedly he's a scholar.
So
He's
I
not
agree with your
an
question.
idiot.
I got your question.
Answer me that point.
Good,
now.
okay. So now when you say the early scholars, he's referring to from the 4th century. This is more than 300 years. I'll explain, trust
Which
me.
scholars?
I'll explain, trust me. Let me have some kind of time.
time.
Yeah, just to build a, no problem, courteous gentleman. So in the first, no, I'll take it. So, so the first 300 years, there were different canons, and not even canons, sorry. There were different writings held by different groups of people who would be identified now as Christians, but they weren't Christians before. The Jewish people, majority of them who believed in Jesus, and on the other hand, there were Pauline Christians who were Hellenistic and they believed in Jesus. So they're not Christians as we know. Because Christianity is a developed thought that came afterwards, and I'll explain that later as well. After the death of Jesus, as you said, there were multiple people who believed in Jesus, not because something was written, because of oral tradition. After the oral tradition, this is why scholars like Streeter, and it's generally accepted, there are 4 different levels to the compilation of the Gospels. One is the oral tradition, then it is the collections, then it is the proto-Gospels, and then it is the Gospels. So this is the period we're first talking about the oral tradition, and then afterwards there were collections like the Gospel of Thomas, which is just a gospel of sayings of thing, and the Q1, which is just a gospel of saying. Now there was different groups with different books, and each of them argue. How do we know this? We have what you call is heresiologists like Epiphanes, Irenaeus, Athanasius, Eusebius, that argue about these different types of sects. They're writing much later on, but they're looking back through their Trinitarian lens and saying that these sects are wrong. But at the time, because there was no Bible or collection of books that any one Christian can say that group is wrong, because the collection of the Bible came afterwards. What spurred it on is interesting. Someone called Marcion of Rome in the year 150 came with his own compilation of Bible, the first Bible that we have, or canon. He had all the letters of Paul, and he had the Gospel of Luke. So this shows that some of the groups, early ones, which you can even say scholars, because he himself had many following, he cancelled out the Old Testament, because for Marcion, who was a disciple of Paul, yeah, you know exactly, he believed that only these books were divine. He rejected John, he rejected Matthew, he rejected Mark. So it's only when you come to the year 331 when Eusebius says Constantine issued a verdict for him to do or authorized him to collect an official record of all the inspired books. Whether he completed that, we don't know, but what we have, the earliest list that we have in the completion that has all the 27 books of today is called, in the, I think the 8th Athanasian Easter letter, where he writes all of the 27 books. But even at that time, what they accepted, we no longer accept. For example, Hebrews, almost consensus amongst modern scholars that Hebrews, and some of the scholars of back then also, did not believe Paul wrote it. So scholars from that early church fathers did not believe Paul. In fact, even if you go back, just modern recent history, Martin Luther King called the epistle of James the epistle of straw. And the reason is James is supposed to be a brother of Jesus and like the head of the early Jerusalem church. He says that there's no, his focus of the book of James, is the life of Jesus, the teaching of Jesus. But Christianity isn't much of the teaching or life of Jesus. It's about the birth, the death, the resurrection. And that's why Martin Luther said that this book is a epistle of straw, because it doesn't teach about theology, it doesn't talk about resurrection. But what we know is that these things must have not been important, because in documents such as Q, in documents such as the Gospel of Thomas, and what they were sourced from as a common source sayings, there is no resurrection. These are the earliest strata of writings that we have. There's no resurrection. It shows, even if the resurrection did happen hypothetically, it was not important for these communities. When James was writing, it clearly was not important for his community. When Mark was writing, because Mark finishes in chapter 16, verse 9, it did not have any resurrection. It was just an empty tomb. The woman's left and they told no one. But then afterwards, someone forged the ending of Mark, which is later appended to it. In Mark, it clearly shows there's a community who did not think it was too important to have... are you still recording? Huh? No, it's good, it's good. Do you see the way he replies?
Man, he's on a roll.
Do you see the way he replies? Like, obviously,
Go
like he
on,
speaks to
carry
me
on,
like.
Carry on,
Why do you speak to me like that?
Carry
huh?
on, don't. Why do you allow yourself to be distracted? You was on a roll.
Yeah, no, you've been implying
Don't be
this.
sidetracked.
Yeah. So there are books that early church fathers argued about, early communities argued about. There were compilations to this day. The Protestants and the Catholics have different amounts of books in it. So we can't just say simply there was a unanimous decision that these are all of the books of the Bible. It never was like that. It never has been like that. And some extra material just for food for thought if you want. Or do you want to say anything?
No, put the cream on the cake.
You know, there's a philosopher called Seneca. Yeah. Now he was a famous philosopher. Now people want to know, like, if Paul's writings are so famous, then how come that philosophers like Seneca don't know about Paul? You know what happened? Letters were forged from Paul to Seneca and Seneca to Paul in order to boost the credibility of Paul, to show that he interacted with philosophers of his age. But the reality, these are forged writings. And we know this because we've got many computerized methods of detection, such as stylistics, for example. It measures the length of sentences, because when you technically, when you write, some people, for me, can go on and write a long sentence, 40 words per sentence. Other people just stick to 10 lines, 10 words a sentence. I use punctuation different from how you use punctuation. Michael said, oh, you said in the video that Paul fell out with the disciples. I'm not sure if I did. It wasn't a big thing for me. But I said it's unusual because I don't use that language. But I can see a possibility if I had read something, then I regurgitate it. So I give him that. But I question him if he really said that. Because it is the same thing how we can determine Paul's writings are Paul's writings or they're not his writing. Stylistic, corpus linguistics, the study of history, where he was, when it was written. And yeah, so going back to your question, there was never unanimity or consensus. Early scholars, later scholars, modern scholars. My man George.
So I'm going to be a Muslim from now on? Do what you're going to do?
No, but you asked me a question. Forget about his. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a general overview of a lot of things. Yeah. So, first of all, no one's denying there was no arguments. No one's denying there was no people in top. For example, like for example, Marcion, there was like the Jehovah's Witnesses, what they believe the Iranian, what they call the Aryans. There were many groups that were trying to attack, interpreting it their way, and there were arguments. Yeah. So of course, what the Muslims do, or scholars, alleged scholars like Bart Ehrman, which is I don't even consider him as a scholar, to tell the truth, all right, because he's been so debunked so many times, all right, and he's lied.
But there's many. There's Bruce Metzger, F.F. Bruce, Dan Wallace.
These are all modern scholars.
No, Dan Wallace is very conservative.
Yeah,
there's many scholars. Dunn, Wright.
Yeah, you're going through all these Western scholars. Have you been to the Eastern Orthodox?
No, I haven't.
Have you been in the monasteries?
No, I haven't.
St. Catherine's? Have you been in Mount Sinai? Have you been to Mount Athos? Have you seen how the early church put the Bible together? Who put the Bible together?
Who did?
How did they put the Bible together? 1 minute. Listen, let me do my role.
Do your role, man. Do your thing.
Of course there were arguments. Marcion, for example, just admitted it was wrong what he was doing, separating the New Testament, the New Testament God with Old Testament God. All right? Go and see how he's been debunked on YouTube.
I don't think he recanted from that position. He died on that position.
He died. No, he recanted on it. You can check
I'll double, but from what I know,
but that's one man. One man. And he was a wealthy man. And he started troubling everything. But listen, let's go right at the very beginning. Right at the very beginning, like what you Muslims got, you got Isnad.
Yeah, exactly, my man.
But so did the Christians. They have Isnad. And they had eyewitnesses right at the beginning. You memorized the Quran. So did the Christians. There was an oral tradition. The sayings were in such a way written that you would remember it. Like today, modern day, it's raining cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Like you know what to say. It doesn't mean it's cats and dogs. What I'm saying is they recite the Bible, the New Testament. They knew a lot of things off by heart, but they knew the sayings and the oral traditions and the white witnesses and all this group from a community of people, and they knew what was the truth. And then you get creeping in certain things happening years later, like Gospel of Thomas. What date is that manuscript? Do you know?
I think it's second. I think they're dated by the original one, the manuscript. By the original one, because they say it's the. Sorry, do you want me to answer the question?
Yeah.
So they say that the way it's formatted would suggest that it can date as early as the 60th century.
Look at that,
Yeah.
6th century.
No, 60th. As in
60
AD, yeah.
Impossible. It's not. It's
No,
not.
because remember I told you there's 4 levels of writing.
Yeah,
one is the oral tradition which you mentioned. The other one is collection.
Check Gospel of Thomas. Just check it for the argument. Check what date is the actual earliest manuscript of Gospel of Thomas. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but there are many manuscripts where they've taken off. There's the Eastern Orthodox have even got, for example, the Proto-Evangelion
Of Peter.
of James, I think it is.
Proto-Gospel of James. Okay.
Yes.
Peter? No.
They've got Apocrypha,
Yeah.
hidden Gospels,
Yeah.
hidden things. They use them for evidences.
Then you just agreeing with what you asked me a
But
question on this.
No. But
you're answering it.
I understand what you're saying. But what I'm saying is that the eyewitnesses to the eyewitnesses. The community there, they knew the families before, and they knew. Let me finish that, because I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So they remember these things. They put what was together. They had to have the councils because many things people were trying to creep in. That's why. Do you know what I mean? That's why Paul, when he went to Thessalonica, went to Corinth, and went through the other, because they started to mix things up. So you're going to have these arguments at the beginning. But you're just picking one point there, one hour, and it's like,
No, there's so much. You know, I'm just going by the questions
And
that
you would
people ask me.
expect
He's saying is
So-
for him
so-
to give you a definite answer, you have to go through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a synopsis. Now we're gonna break. Every time you've asked me a question, I've tried to entertain.
no,
You've been
you've got to let me
patient.
finish. You've got to let me go on the roll.
Oh, you still?
Oh, no, I haven't fin- when I start
Oh,
finishing, this took for half hour.
yeah, I know. That's why. That's the
That's
only
one bloody
reason.
thing.
I know. That's the only reason I'm
No.
holding myself.
People couldn't read and write in those days, normal people. So like you go in the church, the Orthodox church, for example. I'm saying Orthodox because all the churches there are Orthodox at the moment, yeah? So you look, you see all these icons. One of them icons you see all around. You ever seen it in the Orthodox church?
Sorry?
Have you seen the icons and how
Yeah.
all these things is to teach the people the Bible because they couldn't read. This was the crucifixion, this was the resurrection, this was Jesus' baptism, this was, and you see the depictions of these things. John the Baptist, when he was beheaded. So all these things, the community knew what was going on now. Most important is something happened, the resurrection. The writings were like this, what you're saying. They don't mention more of the Christology of Jesus, being God or being divine.
Don't mind me. My eyes are gonna go here, but I'm listening to
Carry
you.
on. But then after the crucifixion, you're seeing John, it's more Christology. He starts talking about him being a divine. You know, people, the eyewitnesses there, they saw what was happening, crucified and back to life. That's why they died martyr's death. It's not like today you could be brainwashed, for example, or whatever. You've been told this and this, and you go and do a martyr's death. There, they actually saw what happened, and they died for their belief, like the apostles did, you see. But these things were grown as a community. You're going to have, that's why we had the councils to define everything. And these critics, right at the very beginning, there weren't many critics like this, like majority critics like this to criticise what you're saying. Anyway, we can go on and on and on and on and on, but you know your critics, you've got to look at the oldest critics, look at the date of those manuscripts, and they're quite far after.
So I'll just engage shortly. Again, maybe.
Carry on.
So you know you mentioned sanad. It's slightly different from
Say
what
again?
sanad. Isnad. You said isnad, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's slightly different when we have an oral tradition. We have people behind that oral tradition, and we also have another science which examines the people in each of
So
these.
do we.
Yeah, so
do
just
and
going
we call
back.
it holy tradition, actually.
Yeah, so-
we don't call it man's tradition is different. Holy tradition is different.
So this
and
is
oral tradition.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So I can imagine a community that are oral, even proficient. But remember, we're not talking about Jews alone. When Paul preached, he preached to the Greeks who are not oral like the Jews are. So you have to understand, one holds an oral tradition, the other one does not. And plus, even if you look at the Homeric poems that we have, yeah, there's scholars differ as what the original form. Now the Homeric poems in Greek society were passed down by oral tradition.
Please forgive me 1 second.
Yeah,
Is it okay to say something?
yeah, of course,
Sorry,
I can't stop you. I can't stop you.
Don't imply that the Greeks didn't have oral tradition.
No, I just gave you one.
The manuscripts, the New Testament was in Greek. The original manuscripts are in Greek.
Yes.
Some people say, oh, Aramaic. No, you will not find Aramaic manuscripts older than the Greek manuscripts. Now you read, you can see it's from an Aramaic mind though.
Yeah, I get to that point.
Right now, there were Greek-speaking Jews at that time, and most language, like
Hellenistic
English now,
Jews, yeah.
it's all Greek.
Yeah.
I'll
So-
look
so-
at some Greek.
So anyway, that society, they had an oral tradition, but what we know from that oral tradition, it was not like the Jewish oral tradition.
Why?
Now, because let me just go on floor. So the oral tradition that we have of the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the early church fathers do describe two gospels. Papias in particular, he talks about two. Yeah, if I'm correct. Yeah, one of them is Mark and one of them is Matthew. They prefer the Matthean priority, meaning that Matthew was the first of the four gospels. Modern scholars say something different. You probably already know. They say a Markian priority, meaning the old church fathers believe Matthew was the first gospel to written. However, scholars generally almost unanimously agree Mark is the first gospel. Yeah.
And when did
Yeah. So this is what I'm getting to. So there's two quotes. They say Matthew was the first to be written, but they say Matthew was written in Hebrew, and then other people translated it who we don't know who.
Who says that?
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then you have to look why
This
they're
is
saying
church
it.
fathers. This is church fathers. Two phones. I'm not a drug dealer. Don't look at me like.
Do you know the mullahs? Sorry, mullahs.
No,
is
there's
that
no-
the
there's
in
mullahs.
in the mosque.
No, it's not mullahs.
Sometimes today they don't all agree.
So here you go. Here you go.
Whatever
Yeah.
you call them, I don't know what you call them.
What's it? Lola.
No, in the mosque.
Here, it's Papias. Yeah, this is what I said. Papias. Yeah. Matthew had collected the oracles or sayings of Christ in Hebrew. How's it going, Idris, man? Leave him, George. Leave him, George. Because you asked me where I got this from, so here it is. Yes,
I don't want to
Papias.
carry
Yeah.
on because I'm going to end up being a Muslim and I'll be careful, I'm getting scared.
So then Matthew wrote the oracles.
Don't be
Yeah.
scared.
Now you have to know what oracles mean as well, but in our own time. Yeah.
Who's
So
writing
Matthew,
this?
this
Who's
is Papias, church father of.
What date is that manuscript? Very important.
Yeah, it is. But this is
It's
one.
what?
Yeah.
First century?
This is actually it's 125 to 150 is when they say. Yeah. But this is one of the earliest statements that we have on the compilation of Matthew. And why?
Eusebius before him.
He got it from
No, Yusuf was later, and he quotes him.
got it from the
Yeah, and he
elders.
got it from. Oh my, this is why I need Idris next to me. And he quotes, it's a conflated sanad, isnad. He claims that he got it from John the Elder. John the Elder passed it down to someone, and it gets to Papias. Then it's quoted by Eusebius.
Yeah.
So it's a conflated isnad. But anyway, he said this is why the church fathers believe Matthew was the first one to be written. But read what it actually says. So then Matthew wrote the oracles. Now people have argued oracles, same as the word logia, yeah, because there's another
Logia.
statement about it, yeah, which means sayings. And this is why I told
Yeah,
you that the
logia.
Gospels,
Yeah.
the Gospels evolved in four stages: the oral stage, the collection stage, the proto-gospel stage, and the gospel stage. So the first one was the oracles, or like you said, how do you pronounce it? Logia.
The word,
Yeah.
the sayings.
The sayings, yeah. So in the Hebrew language, and everyone interpreted them as he was able.
Yeah.
So 1 second.
But
So
before that-
so no, I'll just make the point that I was asking. The Matthew we have, however, one, it's not written in Hebrew.
Exactly.
No, 1 second. So the Matthew we have is not the Matthew that they were talking about was the first one written.
No.
In fact, the Matthew, 1 second, I'll build the argument properly. Yeah,
Carry on.
it is based. What we understand of the Matthew in the New Testament today is based on the synoptic tradition, which is that they're seen as the same. Optic meaning seen. Seen is like grouped together.
Yeah.
Synoptic. What are the synoptic gospels? Matthew, Mark, Luke. And then John is the other one, which is not the same. Irenaeus, I think he says this is known as the spiritual gospel. So John does not fall in the synoptic gospels. Now when we study the synoptic gospels, we get the synoptic problem. And what is the synoptic problem? In Luke and Matthew. Remember, Matthew is supposed to be the first one, but the problem arises. Luke, Matthew and Mark have words, ideas and sequences of those in the same order. Now Mark, 80% of Mark is found in 40% of Luke, word for word. So it cannot be simply maybe it's an opinion. They're literally copying a document, and scholars believe that document is also, it's a Q document, yeah, is also written on by paper. So they say the solution is there's two source theory and there's four source theory. Yeah. So they're saying that Matthew and Luke is based on Mark, and they have another one which is called a double tradition, the Q source. Now if Matthew is the same as the Matthew Papias is saying, which Papias is saying is the first one, why is it that Matthew we have today is copying of Mark, which is not an eyewitness?
You're
and the
assuming
one,
that.
no, this is what scholars say.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
this is
Scott
their
said. Let me
argument.
tell you.
Now the Mark one, it says, I think it's Papias as well. Yeah, if you want me to pull that out, I can pull it out.
no,
But I've shown you everything every time.
You're going too much,
Too fast.
and I can't take it anymore. No, we said good up to
It
now.
is,
Let's
yeah,
hang
yeah.
it in there.
Yeah.
You're very good. Let's
So
go
the Mark and Matthew we have today is not the Mark and Matthew
We're
they
gonna
attested.
address that. Let's
Yeah.
go back. So he said it was in Hebrew, Matthew, yeah?
The oracles,
Written
or
in Hebrew.
as you said, logi, which are saying.
The lawyer was written in Hebrew.
Lawyers, you say lawyer.
Yeah. Lawyer, not L-A.
Lawyer, you're saying it.
So now he said Matthew's written in Hebrew, yes?
Yeah,
Where is that manuscript? The oldest manuscript is in Greek.
exactly. That's why this is what
Wait
this
a minute.
argue my point.
1 minute. So he's claiming
The one we have
something's
is
in
Greek.
Hebrew. Yeah.
He's
Wait a minute.
Pap-
Hang in.
Sorry, George.
The one written in the one I go to go on the wall and then he cuts me.
My man, you know what? I appreciate you in this conversation.
No,
Trust me.
listen.
It's a nice
The
conversation.
one we're just talking, yeah? So he said it was written in Hebrew, but yet there's no Hebrew manuscript around. We don't know if there was a Hebrew manuscript. That Hebrew manuscript he's referring to is later.
Church
because the Greek manuscript, what I know, they got fragment in Magdalene University in Oxford. And there's got fragment, Soviet, and right early, or Kyrios, the Lord, they refer to Jesus. That's a big thing. That's very big. John Stanton book, look it up, although it's been kind of refuted, but their manuscripts, hang in there,
I'm here.
what happened in 70 AD?
Jerusalem was wiped out.
Don't you think they would have mentioned that in their manuscripts?
If
That
they-
big event, if they were written later on. These are all written long before 70 AD. Or as they mentioned all this demolition in Rome. Isn't it?
Well, the scholars do suggest that.
No, forget what scholars say, man. I don't listen to scholars. But,
Go and build your argument, sorry.
this is very important. So, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Big event, demolish all of Jerusalem. They would have mentioned that in them documents. They don't mention it. Very quiet.
Okay, but what would be the point that you're
point
suggesting
is,
now?
These were written down before 70 AD.
Okay.
All right, and we had fragments of them around.
Okay, let's go by
Hang in
this.
there.
Yeah.
Second century.
So forget second century. We're going right.
Let's see what he says. Let's see. Sorry, I
Sorry.
don't know.
So my
Let's see
point
what
is-
his argument
My
is.
point is they're referring to a Hebrew document written in Hebrew, Matthew. That could be a Hebrew document dated later on, not there at that time.
Okay.
Now, what's the other thing we were talking about?
It was just logia or however you pronounce it. Yeah. So here, yeah. So yeah. So your point was.
Watching. No.
You're a gym,
But basically,
you're a
it's a good point I'm saying.
Yeah.
So these manuscripts must have been written before 70 AD.
So yeah.
And there are fragments, a lot of arguments to argue about it. So there was a church father, it's not Eusebius then, it was someone else. show me the prime of the young guy. Harold,
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, from John. This is the one I
what
quote.
date is that? There was
Yeah.
one.
He
Very,
gives the
early.
isnad which you are talking about goes to John there. The
Yeah,
proof
but
line
he
there.
said, they said that there's no reason why we shouldn't believe the Gospels, the names attributed to those Gospels.
Okay, let's deal with one.
were genuine, those
Let's
people.
do one because we're talking about Matthew. Now here what we have, yeah, and it says the logia, which are sayings. That's
sayings,
exactly
yeah.
how we know that the first process of Jesus' statements were in the formation of
There
the
were
Gospels.
sayings,
There were sayings,
we were
collections,
there,
proto-Gospels, and then Gospels.
And talking to us, and we write them sayings down. That's why he spoke. Sorry to go
Yeah.
on. I'm sorry.
No.
That's why he was saying in rhymes, not rhymes, like
Poems and
the way he spoke.
yeah,
It's a
alliteration.
story
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that. So we knew, and we all write them down now. And then we come in, we give it to people.
I got that.
So who knows what to put there?
Okay, excellent.
It was great
Excellent.
from all the community what agreed to put them down.
Yeah, excellent. So now we have Matthew. And this is what the argument for Matthean priority is, that it's the earliest gospel. And the basis of that is this statement from Papias, which comes in Eusebius. And that's the reason that the church fathers believe in. Now you can say, no, that's wrong, but this is what you based your whole argument on. Don't listen to modern scholars say. So it's like you're shooting down your own argument. I'm saying that modern scholars are saying that you have this synoptic problem. Mark is the first one according to them written, but the older scholars say Matthew is written first, and the reason they say Matthew is written first is because of this statement. And even when you look at the word sayings, this is exactly what we know of how the Gospels were made, so it makes sense. But however, the Matthew we have now is not the Matthew they had then. The
How do you
Matthew
know?
then, I've got you, man. Okay. The Matthew then, yeah, was written in Hebrew. The Matthew now, one second.
It's just because he mentions it.
Yeah.
And yet there's no.
Well, do you not believe what they said?
We've got. I told you, Magda University.
But
There's fragments there. The church
Yeah,
father.
yeah, he's a church father, and this is if you see, like, just a
All
minute,
church
this is your
fathers-
argument.
All church fathers don't agree.
But George, this is your argument.
you're lying.
George,
saying the old
George, this is
fathers
your
don't
argument. This is your argument. You see, this is not my argument. My argument with modern scholars, we look through language and understand through corpus linguistics and stylistics and the study of language. First gospel is Mark. Thereafter Mark is Matthew and Luke. This is called the Markian priority. Yours is the Matthean priority based on what the church father says. And what the church fathers said is this. But if you doubt this, then you shoot down your whole pack of cards or house of cards comes crumbling down, which I don't mind anyway. And then not only that, you have the statement of Mark as well. They say the same thing of Mark. Mark wrote down the logia of Peter. Now again, what we have, and he says he wrote it in any order. If we find the quote, when you have time at home, maybe watch the videos and find that statement in regards to the first Mark that we have. It's not the Mark that we have today. The Mark of that time, if you read what it says, it was just sayings in an unordered, because this is the way that Kirai or something, I'm not sure about Greek, Peter spoke in Kiro or something, yeah? And Mark wrote down in an unassembled order. So read exactly the same word, because I don't want someone to say, oh, that's not exactly how it said it. And you see what the Mark we have though is an order. And not only is it just Kiro or Logia, it's also a narrative, meaning that the Gospel of Mark we have today is not the Gospel of Mark they had before. And this is not something strange. The church fathers, the church fathers, they mention all the differences. Like we always mention this difference, like when in the John 17 verse 3, it's eternal life that you should know the one true God and Jesus Christ who he sent. We know church fathers could not.
Stop there. This is very important. Please dig into this one.
Yeah.
We believe in one true God and Jesus Christ. The Greek, if you know the Greek, and I'm not claiming now I know this, but I heard it from proper scholars, Greek professor scholars, that end, A-N-D, the way it's said in that context, doesn't mean, oh, there's God and there's Jesus. It means they are one as one. It means as one. So now, explaining all this, I can't tell you.
Okay.
But you look at that.
Let's move to because we talked a lot of this. I could keep going. You can hear that.
Leave all that. All
Let's
I
talk
want to
about
know,
this
where can I
one.
find all this, what you're saying?
Let's talk about this one. 17 verse 3, yeah. This isn't the only place in John. If you read in John 5 verse 43, it speaks about Father being the only God. So it's not the only place. Even if we read at the head of every Jesus, this is what Paul says, yeah? And this is the difficulty. You have Unitarian Christians who are looking at the Bible.
That's why, that's why I'm going to stop you there. That's why I believe it's not. John came later, yeah?
The Gospel of John you're talking about. Yeah.
What you're talking about here is what, from where?
Oh, this is from Paul's writing, which is the earliest.
Yeah, but John's come after. Why?
Yeah.
It's
Oh, you're going, yes?
natural. They don't. That's why, after the crucifixion, there weren't too much of the Christology, but the divinity of Jesus. After the.
You ready next week?
I should, yeah.
After the crucifixion, they weren't talking too much about the divinity of Jesus so much. After the crucifixion and all that, after you get John, more about the Christology, they knew about the divinity more about him. But listen, you're going into
my last opening. This is your. This is the point. So you have 4 Gospels. We believe is Mark. Then you have Matthew, Luke. Then you have John. John is written around the year 90 in Ephesus. Ephesus is Turkey, as you know, next to Greek, and it's in the Roman Empire, the Byzantine part of the empire. So now, who was ruling in the Byzantine? I'm getting cramps here. Who was ruling in the getting cramps here. Who was ruling in Ephesus at the time the Gospel of John is? We can't divorce where the context of the Gospel of John was written. Domitian is the emperor. Domitian, Suetonius, who is a Roman historian, he says Domitian by decree told the people that you should call me my Lord and my God. And this is the same statement we find in John. And John also, actually I'll skip that, it's going to go too much. Yeah. So John is written much later on, and it reflects the beliefs of the Romans and the Greeks. When Mark is written, Matthew is written, and Luke is written, which is the early one, they don't mention I am the way, I am the truth, I am the light, before the I am, this, that. These I am statements, as you know, are unique only to John. But if Jesus had said it, we would expect the earliest strata, Mark, even the ones before like L.M., Mark, or the Passion stories, before even the Gospel was compiled, to have these, but we don't have these statements.
Wouldn't you expect it to be, when the Gospels were written, like after the resurrection, you would have them talking about the divinity more? They knew more.
So we have to know where these Gospels were written. So John was written in the Roman Empire. Now, as you know, Caesar was seen as God. After his death in the year 42, for a process of apotheosis, where the Senate gathered and they gave Caesar divine honors. So Caesar went through the process of voting or apotheosis, and they exalted him from a man to say he was God. We have coined
God, not the God.
Divus. Yes, good man.
Whereas
Divus.
in Matthew, they refer to Jesus.
This is a good point.
Oh, Kyrios, the Lord.
Not curious. It wasn't curious. It was
in Matthew. In Matthew.
Just Matthew for Jesus. Yeah, but I'm talking about Caesar. It was Divus. This is diva, you know, she's a diva, or you know, divas, yeah. So this is where man becomes God, and Caesar was seen as this, a process of apotheosis. And this is, look how quick. 2 years after the death of Caesar, he was given these divine attributes, of being God. His son Augustus, or adopted son Augustus, we have coinage. Flip it. It says it says, one second. It says the son of God, and then later in the life of Domitian, who is we're talking, he didn't say that he was a man that became God. He said he is Deus, the God. Yes, the God. And this idea of apotheosis, and it's called the imperial religion of Rome. Do you know about the imperial religion? One second, I haven't finished the thing. The imperial religion of Rome. Do you know about this? Because we have to understand where John is written. Imperial religion of Rome is where they take men and make them gods, like this Caesar, like Augustus, like Domitian. So when John is writing, he's competing with the Roman belief, that man can become God.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah, sure. He's very good, by the way.
Justin Martyr.
Do you mind if I give you these? I've run away. I'm going to stand here but listen to you. But
No. I'm just going to say this because it's in line with what you've said about how the Hellenistic world influenced
Yeah, it did.
Christian theology.
It did.
So this is the apology of Justin Martyr, and it was written at the time to the emperor at the time. I can't recall his name. Superiority of Christianity to paganism. This is Justin Martyr.
His apology. This is called the apology.
Apology of
Justin
Justin
Martyr's apology. Yeah.
In saying, so this is the confluence between the Hellenistic belief and Christian
Christianity.
theology.
Yeah.
In saying that the Word, who was the first offspring of God, was born for us without sexual union as Jesus Christ our teacher, and that he was crucified and died after the rising again, ascending to heaven, we, listen to this, we introduce nothing new beyond what of those whom you call sons of Zeus. You know how many sons of Zeus and the writers whom you honor speak of? Hermes, the hermeneutic word, and the teacher of all. Can you read that? That's Greek. Asclepius, who was also a healer after being struck by lightning and ascending into heaven, as did Dionysus, who was torn in pieces. Heraclius, who to escape his torment threw himself into the fire. Dioscuri, born of Leda, and Perseus, of Diane, and Bellerophon, who thought of human origin, rode on the divine horse Pegasus.
I'm gonna jump on that.
I need to mention Ariadne, and those who like her, who said to have been placed among the stars. And what of your deceased emperor,
Emperors, yeah.
whom you regularly think worthy of being raised to immortality, introducing a witness who swears he was the cremated Caesar.
No, who saw that he swears he saw the cremated Caesar ascending into heaven from the funeral prior.
So nothing new.
It's nothing new. So this is apology. So let me just explain. So I know you've been patient.
You're good.
Now Justin Martyr is writing very early, as you know, and he's writing apology to the pagans. The pagans, this is called the apology. He wrote 3 letters. One of them is a letter to Tripod the Jew, and then there's 2 apologies, but we only have one of them.
Yeah.
This is one of the apologies. He's saying what you say of Jupiter and the sons of Jupiter is no different than what we say of Jesus, meaning that it shouldn't be strange to you. In the same way, Caesar as well rose from the death into and was taken up to heavens. Jesus was consumed into the heavens. And scholars like Timothy Freck and Peter Gandhi, they write a book, and it's called The Jesus Mysteries. And they mention these quotes of this scholar and another scholar. My brain is not working at the moment, but he claims, what you see of Jesus in the traditions that preceded Jesus in paganism was by the devil, who went into the future. It's called diabolical mimicry. The devil went into the past, copied and pasted from pagan stories and reproduced that. Oh, sorry, the other way. He looked. Exactly. So the stories that we have,
and this is a Hellenic influence.
Yeah. So this is what they argue. They argue now the story that you have. There's nothing different of Jesus than what we have of our gods, of the son of Jupiter and Dionysus.
In a nutshell, the Hellenes, the Greeks, all their gods and their attributes, or many of their attributes, they invented this Jesus and added all the tributes to Jesus.
Why are you not Muslim?
Yes, this is what you say.
Yes.
See what I mean? This is what makes me sad, man.
Don't be sad.
It makes me sad. You guys are intelligent people, man.
But there's no answer.
And because this Justin Martyr said this, just don't cry.
Yeah, that's it.
Don't say, wait a minute, bro. Sorry, we are ignoring. You realise what you've just done? You've ignored from Genesis, all those thousands of years up to when Jesus was born and crucified, died and resurrected. All those literally hundreds of prophecies, ignore all that.
God will not be a man.
Ignore all the people that were there, the eyewitnesses supposed to be. Ignore the other one.
You're moving from the topic.
1 minute, ignore the eyewitnesses that saw and died martyr's death, and the apostles died in the martyr's death.
Oh, we could talk about
Ignore all
those.
that and just listen to Justin Martyr say, no, they were influenced, the Greeks, and that's
No,
why
no.
they added it to... What day?
It's
And
not-
what day was that manuscript written?
Yeah.
You need to find a physical date of that
Yeah,
manuscript.
it's-
And even if he said that, just because he said that, it doesn't mean that. It's like me saying, yeah, the Muslims are blah, 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 blah.
No,
and you see that. You can't,
George,
Rob.
George,
It's a good
George,
answer. Good point. I hope the cameras are
You
right.
disagree and he's speaking 20.
And then George, what I'm telling you, it was actually it's better discussion. It wasn't so acrimonious
Nice, more
and everything.
respectful.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I
respectful.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I learn a lot myself.
Yeah.
But where can
But-
I see
but listen.
all this shit you're telling me? No, where can I get all this information?
It's all there. You
Oh,
know
just
everything.
Watch the camera, pick up the words he said, and just research.
Yeah, exactly. Letter to Tripod the Jew, apology of Justin Martyr, Acts, Galatians, which you already
All
knew,
right, I know,
Suetonius, you know all
What is
this.
this? Are we being filmed now?
I think so, yeah. Should be. Well, that's why I assume that's why
Anyway,
I've
it's all
got
good,
picked
man.
it. But you need to
We're all
become.
learning.
George, you need to be. Have you got Quran?
I'll read it.
September.
Huh?
September still. Oh, what day is September?
Have you got Quran? I can't leave you
I've
just
got-
talking
I've
about
got
Christianity
Quran,
being wrong.
man. I'll read the Quran.
So worship one God,
I do
no
worship one-
divisions,
I do worship
no
one God.
man, no spirits,
1 minute.
no
One
sticks,
minute.
no stones, no Buddha, no none of this. Worship one God,
I
the God of
worship-
Jesus.
I worship one God.
That's good. If it's
And
true.
and I do submit my head to the floor.
Good man.
I submit myself to God. You can call him Allah, you can call him God, doesn't matter.
Allah, yes.
It's one label we've given. We believe in one creator. And I submit my heart.
Let's go, George.
And I love human beings. Because say I'm a Christian, you're a Muslim. This creator created you and created me. And to respect him, I have to respect you.
Yeah.
And I also believe what it said in the Bible. Love God with your heart, with your mind, with your soul, and also your neighbor.
Yeah.
So you have to respect
I get that.
everybody.
My invitation. Sorry.
So who's
finish.
God? Because Jesus said, "Your God and my God."
Jesus.
So do you worship Jesus as God with all your heart? Does Jesus have a God
Jesus is the Son of God.
and God?
And God and the Father. Jesus is the Son of the Father.
Your Father, my Father, your God and my God. So Jesus has a Father and a God, but is God as well.
Yeah.
You know that doesn't
Yep.
make sense.
And this Jesus, young boy, how old are you?
I'm on camera, man.
No, you're a woman, man.
Yeah.
I'm 61. What am I worried about? I'm not
You
worried.
look good, man. You look good.
How old are you?
Huh? I'm
You don't have to answer.
Yeah.
30 years old boy going around and he's God. And we're supposed to believe it. Going to the toilet,
He's not, that's why.
he's drinking some wine,
Exactly.
and we got to believe he's God.
No, we don't.
Oh, exactly. Now,
Oh, man.
he prayed to God.
He prayed
and
to
I
God.
believe he was God, praying to God.
Subhanallah.
But you just said, how can a
Doesn't make it
30-year-old man can be good?
Huh?
How you just said, how can a 30-year-old man be drinking
Exactly.
wine
so
and be
all
good?
these things, yeah? Right. So rational and human logic
But it's not
very
rational.
hard, isn't it?
But if we don't use rational human logic, what should we use?
There's divine logic. Let me tell you, in the Bible it said, what is impossible for man is possible for God.
And what does that mean?
Now, if I know God exactly how he is, it means my mind is bigger than God. How can we know exactly how he communicates to
I'll
the
be
people?
honest.
Through how God
It's
tells
not
us. He is.
easy.
Through how God tells us he is.
I'll cut the
right.
fork, knife through the fork, yeah? Jesus said on the cross, according to the book you're saying is divine and everything, that, oh Lord, oh God, why have thou forsaken me?
Yes.
We know, so he's forsaken.
It's his human
We
side
know,
speaking.
we,
It's his human side speaking.
So, but what does he? This one say? You know, every reply there's a reply. Every action is a reaction.
Tell me.
Why did his human side get subdued the divine side?
Explain, please.
Why
Tell
is
me.
it that every time Jesus says that something like, I don't know the hour, or he grew in wisdom, or that he's crying, or he has passions, and it's the human side. But why is it that the human side is subduing the divine side? Shouldn't be the divine side subdued? Because what you go
Hang in there.
Yeah, so what would you just
When
say
he
that?
was walking on the water and he stopped the wind and he got
Miracle.
earth and he made killed his eye. I wish you would see it now. But anyway, right? Just like in Genesis, God got from the earth and made man, yeah? So when he done this, was he subduing his, was
It's a
his human
miracle.
side subduing?
Elijah done that.
He was his divine there.
George,
Tell me.
there were two narratives of the blind man. I think it's Luke and Mark. What's mentioned at the ending of Mark is not in Luke. In Mark, the people are in awe,
Yeah.
and they go, he's committed this miracle with the authority from God.
Yes.
So the
Sure.
gospel says that some of the miracles Jesus performed,
Yes.
bi'idhnillah,
Of course.
through God.
And he said, he
So
even
it
said,
negates his divinity.
and he even said, the Father is greater than I.
Listen, this is all barriers. Just become
Stop.
Muslim.
No, no,
Make
no.
it. I'm tired. I'm so
Listen, no,
tired.
no, you're not
I'm
tired.
so. I'm tired. I've been here for a minute.
Yes,
Become
yes.
Muslim.
No,
Stop
let me
all
finish
of this
my last
mental
point, 'cause you're
gyms.
going to cut one clip and say, oh, but
No, they won't.
Huh?
do that.
No.
And
Look,
Jesus-
you're not.
Jesus
I
said-
like you. You're a nice
listen,
guy. You're a nice guy.
Jesus said,
Stop all this mental
The
gymnastics.
Father was
Just
greater
worship.
than I, but he also said, the Father and I are one. All right?
But he
And
said
it
that
was
to the
trying-
disciples.
So was he
In
contradicting
John
himself?
17, the disciple, you are in me as I am the Father. So are the disciples now God using that logic? The answer is
We
no.
will talk more.
So that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Jesus said the head of man is Christ, and the head of Christ is the Father, God. There's a hierarchy. Worship the God that Jesus worshipped, and you will get to heaven, inshallah. Anyway,
do.
I want you to
And
be
it's
Muslim.
the-
I really want you to be Muslim.
Anyway,
The Father,
nice
yes.
being
Yeah, good.
Somebody you don't know yet.
Oof.
Is it a big opportunity?
Oh, brother, you finished?
Oh, Allah. Yeah, say something. So that was a very long and very complex discussion about the Bible, about apocalyptic, apocryphal material. We just finished off on Jesus having a father. It's clear indication that Jesus cannot be God, because he says in John 17:3, the one true God. He says it in John 5:43, the only God. We find that Jesus prays to him. We're not talking even about his humanity, because we know he's subject to the Father. In the end times, everything will be subject to the Father, including the Son. We see on the earth that Jesus did not know things. When he was asked about the last hour, Jesus did not know. He said, no one knows the hour except for the Father. Only the Father knows. If only the Father knows, why doesn't the Holy Spirit know? Anyway, these are theological discussions that need to, maybe George could have gone into detail. What we were speaking mainly about is scripture and authenticity of the four Gospels. Do you want to say anything, Idris?
Barakallah.
Yeah, barakallah feek, man. Thank you. Oh, sorry guys, really tired, man.
Did you buy extra battery?